Hello, my name is Muhammad Adladi bin Muhammad Rusdi, and I will explain the part 1. So before constructing the graph and chart, you need to find the relative frequency and the cumulative relative frequency of customer satisfaction and customer retention. To find relative frequency, you need to divide each class with the total. So for class interval 70 to 75, the frequency is 2. So I will divide it with the total, which is 30, and get 0.07 for the relative frequency. From this, you can see for the satisfaction, the highest value are 80 to 90 class interval, where the relative frequency is 0.27, showing that the customer are quite satisfied. For the class retention, the highest relative frequency are class interval 75 to 80, which is 0.30, indicating that more customers fall in the lower to mid-range retention. For cumulative relative frequency, to find it, you need to take the relative frequency of 0.07 and multiply it with 100 and get 7. Next, you will need to plus it with 0.23 and get 30. So do this like with the rest of the class interval, including the customer retention. After RF is found, now the comparison can be done by using the histogram bar. So customer satisfaction showed a symmetric distribution. The highest bar are in the middle. Left and right side mirror each other. So this shows that the satisfaction level are balanced. Meanwhile, customer retention is positively skewed as data has a long tail on the right side. They show that customers have low to mid-range retention rate. Now the comparison of CRV between the two. So the blue line here is customer retention. It has a sharp rise in the start and then flatten, indicating large portion of customer retain in lower level, while pink line is customer satisfaction. It rises more gradually. So this OGIF confirm that satisfaction is spread out while retention is concentrated in lower interval. In summary, the customer satisfaction is consistently high and symmetrically distributed, suggesting customers are generally pleased. Customer retention is positively skewed, indicating that while many customers are satisfied, not all satisfied customer is staying loyal. And the histogram and OGIF are connected. So if a histogram bar is 0.27, the OGIF will increase by 27% at that point. So we can say that the histogram show how much in each class, the OGIF show how much so far up to each class.
Next is the part 2 question, which is to calculate and compare measures of central location between the two key metrics. The first one is the mean, where we have to divide the number of values with the total of all values. For satisfaction score, we will get 84.23%, and for retention rate, we will get 74.07%. Next is the median, which is the middle values. For both of the metrics, they have 30 values each, so it will become the 15 and the 16 values. So we have to add these two values and divide by 2, and we will get the median for that metric. For the first one is the satisfaction score, it will become 85%, and for the second one is the retention rate, it will become 74%. Lastly is the mode, which is the most frequent values. For customer satisfaction score, it will be the 85% and 88%, where both of them appears 3 times, and for the customer retention rate, it will be the 68% and 80% also appears 3 times. Next, this is the table to compare all the central location for both of the metrics. My observation from this table is that customer satisfaction scores generally trend higher than customer retention rate, with means of 84.23% and 74.07% respectively. This gap suggests that while customers express high satisfaction, retention strategy may require further enhancement because 74.07% is actually quite high for a retention rate. Also, both metrics display a bimodal distribution with their most frequent values occurring 3 times each. These indicate clustering within the dataset, potentially reflecting varying level of business performance or segmentation within the market. Lastly, the medians, which closely align with the means in both metrics, 85% for satisfaction and 74% for retention rate, reinforcing the symmetrical nature of the distributions.
Hi, my name is Nur Shazlin binti Siddiq, bearing the metric ID BT23303. So as for part 3, I will be calculating the percentiles and constructing the box plot for each of the 2 key metrics. Let's begin with the percentile analysis. So as for the customer satisfaction score, the 25th percentile was 79.75%, the median was 85%, and the 75th percentile, which is the Q3, was 89.25%. So this indicates that the majority of businesses scored well above average in customer satisfaction key metric. As for the second key metric, which is customer retention rate, the Q1 is 68%, and then the median is 74%, and the Q3 is 80%. So this indicates there is a slight of lag, but it still reflects a generally strong retention performance from all the businesses. In summary, these results suggest that most businesses are performing at a competitive level across both satisfaction and retention, with customer satisfaction showing a tighter and higher distribution. Now, let's move on to the box plot analysis, which help us visualize the data distribution and identify any outliers. So as for customer satisfaction, the IQR was 10%, with data ranging from 70% to 93%. As for customer retention, the IQR was slightly wider at 12%, with data ranging from 60% to 88%.
So by using the standard IQR base bounds, we checked for potential outliers in both datasets. However, no outliers were identified. All values fell within the expected range, indicating a consistent performance across the businesses without any extreme low or high results. To conclude, the percentile values provide a clear picture of how businesses rank in terms of customer satisfaction and retention, while the box plots confirm that the performance is not only strong but also stable, with minimal variability and no extreme deviations.
Hello, so I'll be explaining for part 4, measure of dispersions for customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate. We will look at our 4 main measure for dispersions. First, we have range, and then we have mean absolute deviations, MED, and then we have variance and standard deviations, and lastly is coefficients of variations, which is CV. From previous explanations, we know that the maximum value for customer satisfaction is 93% and the minimum value for customer satisfaction is 70%. In order to know the range, we simply need to minus both maximum and minimum value. So for customer satisfactions, we got 23% range. As for the customer retention, the maximum value is 88%. We minus the minimum value is 60% and equal to 28%. So this shows that the customer retention rates are spread out more than the customer satisfaction score. Now we move on to the absolute mean deviation, MED. So for this part, I made a table to make it easier to count. This part consists 3 tables. First is the value table, where all the customer satisfaction score are sorted in ascending order, which is the smaller number to the bigger number. Next table is the value minus the customer satisfaction mean, which is in previous explanation, we get the mean is equal to 84.23%. So lastly, a table where we put answer that has been removed the negative sign by taking the absolute value answer. So why remove the negative? If we didn't, positive and negative differences would cancel each other out, making the average differences look smaller than it really is. So by using absolute values, we count every distance as positive, giving a true average distance from the mean. And for total of customer satisfaction's MED is 146.54% divided by the number of value, which is 30, we get 4.88%. Next, we will look at the customer retention rate table. Here, I made the same table, but I changed the indicator to differentiate both data. So I use Y indicator as customer retention rate. So the MED answer for customer retention rate is 172.14% divided by 30 equal to 5.74%. This shows customer retention value is bigger than customer satisfaction, which means that the customer retention rate are further 5.74% from their mean, so they are less consistent. We will take a look at our next measure, which is variance and standard deviations. The construct of the table remain the same, as I want to show how to count it one by one so that we will not be confused or miscount. In this measure, we are using sample variance and standard deviations formula. But before we continue, I will give short explanation on what is variance and standard deviations. First, variance find the average of square differences from the mean, making sure all the differences are positive. For standard deviations is just a square root of variance, putting it back in the same units as our data. For variance, so what I did is that I minus the value with the mean and square it. After that, I divide by 1 less than the number of values. So the sample variance for customer satisfaction score is 35.98%, whereas the square root of standard deviations answer is 6.00%. Now we will take a look at customer retention table. We will do the same thing as customer satisfaction table, where we will find the variance and standard deviations for customer retention rate. The sample variance for customer retention rate is 49.16% and the standard deviations is 7.01%. So comparing the answers, customer retentions are more spread out around the mean than the satisfaction scores. Lastly is CV. So for CV formula, we have CV equal to standard deviation divide mean times 100, but the data for both customer satisfactions and retentions are already in percentage, so we will not be times 100 anymore. So we will just going to divide the standard deviation with mean. The answer for customer satisfactions is 6.00% divided by the mean 84.23% equal to 0.07%. Meanwhile, customer retention standard deviations, which is 7.01%, divided by the mean 74.07%, it is equal to 0.09%. So this shows that retention rates are more variable compared to the average than satisfaction score. So in summary, customer retention rate is more spread out and less consistent than customer satisfaction score across all measures. This means that while most customers are satisfied, not all of them stay loyal and retention is more unpredictable. So what we need to do is that we need to understanding the measures that can help us know where to focus improvements, especially on making retentions more stable.
Hi, my name is Nur Erika binti Amidaham. My matrix number is PB233110169, and today I'll be presenting my part 5 in assignment 1. This part will be focusing on measure of association between two key metrics, which is customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate. In this part, we're going to break down how to calculate covariance. Covariance is a statistical measure that helps us understand how two variables change together. In simpler terms, it shows if increases in one variable tend to correspond to increases or decreases of another variable. So this is the formula for covariance. I will be explaining each part of the formula means. So for the symbol sigma, this symbol means we need to sum up the series of calculation. X1 represents the customer satisfaction score, which is our first variable. The X bar means the mean or average of all X value, which is the customer satisfaction score. For the Y1, this represents the second variable, which is our customer retention rate, and the Y bar represents the mean. The upper side of the formula, which shows each pair of X and Y data points, we multiply the result of the two subtraction we just did. The N is the total number of data points that we have, which is the customer satisfaction score and the retention rate pairs. Okay, now let's take a look of the calculation I just did in part 5. You can see the table with customer satisfaction score and our customer retention rate, which is our Y value. The column label shows the result of the calculation for each pair of data points. For instance, the first calculation is 70 minus 84.23 multiplied by 60 minus 74.07, and then we got the result, which is 200.22. Okay, and then if you add up all the values in the column, you get the sum of which 1210.67. To get sample covariance, we plug the 1210.67 into our formula, like I just did here. And then we got the sample covariance result, which is approximately 41.75. Since it's a positive number, it indicates a positive relationship. That means generally, a customer satisfaction score increases, customer retention rate also tend to increase. For the second part of measure of association, we'll be calculating correlation. Correlation, as stated in the formula, you can see the SXY is the covariance between X and Y. The SX is the standard deviation of X, and SY is the standard deviation of Y. You can find the standard deviation in the previous part, which is part 4. In our case right now, the SXY is 41.75 that we just calculated just now. SX is 6 and SY is 7.01. So you have to plug in all the values inside the formula. You can find the correlation coefficient is approximately 0.9933. This value is very close to 1, which indicates a very strong positive linear relationship between two variables. In conclusion, the sample covariance of 41.75 shows a positive relationship between customer satisfaction and customer retention rate, meaning these two variables tend to move in the same direction. However, to understand how strong the relationship is, we look at the correlation coefficient. which in this case is 0.9933. This value is extremely close to 1, indicating a very strong positive linear relationship. In simple terms, as customer satisfaction increases, customer retention almost certainly increases as well. This strong correlation highlights the importance of customer satisfaction as the key factor in building customer loyalty.